Okay, so the fly I'm going to tie here is a completed version of the half and half, so half Clouser, half Deceiver, or the Clouser, or the Clouseiver, whatever you want to call it. Very, very effective fly for deep dredging, particularly for bigger fish. The hook I'm using is a Gamakatsu SL12. Wonderful hook for all this sort of fishing, and the size is in a 4/0. I'm going to use 1 gram 5.5mm eyes, leaving plenty of room between the eye of the hook and the eyes themselves to finish off the fly. Over wraps, under wraps, X wraps, and then I like to get right in tight at the base of the wraps, pull everything tight. Set them in place, wrap the shank. Now you've probably seen my other clip about how to tie in feathers for deceivers or feather tails, deceiver style tails, so they don't wrap and foul. So I'm not going to dwell too long on this. I've prepped up 6 good saddle hackles. Look for the natural curve. These ones will go this side. So sort of some feathers are naturally for this side and some feathers are naturally for that side, depending on which way they curve. And I line them all up so that they're similar. I want to maximize the length of these. These are great quality saddles. Like so. Now I leave the stubs on so that I can maybe tweak the feathers. If one of them is not cooperating, like that one there, just find out which one it is and then tweak it by pulling the stub to get it into line. There we go. Get it lined up, get it pulled in under the bindings so it's really tight. Then of course the next thing I do, which I demonstrated in that other clip, is get lots of good wraps on there. There's lots of wraps underneath the feathers like so. Really stiffening up the base. Then I'll get some shorter bucktail. This is a tail that's almost seen better days. There's still some good hair on it, but I'll take some of this. I could take it from the base here. I'll use some of that base hair. This is in the other clip as well, but some of that base hair, get rid of all the short stuff, give it a flick out of there. Get rid of some of that fluff. Then I'll push this, I tie this what I call in the round. Push this down around with my fingers of my left hand here. Pull that tight, see how it flares out. Now I'll just use soft wraps over the important bit. It's well bound in, and then soft wraps over the hair that goes over the feathers there in order to just tie it all in. I'm going to add some flash. Crystal flash here. Not too much. I'm going to add 2 different kinds of flash to this. I like to stagger the ends like so. Add the flash along the back there. Then a couple of strands of this stuff, this lateral scale. Love this stuff. Just need 1 strand down either side. Gives that wonderful lateral line look. Try and get this straight from the beginning, like so. Cut it off at about the length of the tail. Another strand down the other side. Make sure that's straight. Yep, that's in place. trim that off. Now that's the tail tied in. Bring the thread right forward, back to the eyes, get that body tidied up a bit. Now, next thing I'm going to tie in is some pearl braid, like so. I'll tie this the full length of the body, to start right in behind the eye, build a bit of body up, take it all the way back to the feathers. Then the next material, I found these lead Twist Ons. Mate gave them to me years ago, and they've been sitting around here, and I was having a tidy up the other day, and I thought, wow, that's a good body material. It's very soft. It's like a packet of matches. Break one off, like so. It's very, very malleable. And I'm going to lay this along this side of the shank, because this is going to be a fly that turns over. Should ride hook point up. Wrap that all the way along there. And just make sure that I just check how far back that can come. Back to the feathers there. Bind it down. Fold the lead wrap forward. Back up to the eyes. This is where having a pair of pliers on your fly tying bench is handy for flattening stuff out and straightening it and pulling lead into line. Right back up under the eyes. Then cinch that down again. I weighed that lead, it's 0.5 gram per strip. Pretty good, pretty handy. Lots of bindings over that. Okay, then I'm going to put some head cement on there. Soak that in head cement. I'll just give that little end there a little flattening tweak. Make it easier for the braid to come up over it. I'm going to use the rotary function on my wonderful old Dynaking Aristocrat. Really aristocratic old vise. I've tied, I don't know how many thousands of flies on this thing, from size 16 to size 10-0s. Just build that wrap up there, then I can go into the rotary function. All the way up to behind the eyes, nice and tight, tight packed. Like so. I'll trim that lateral scale to length. And the next step, now this is something I really like in these flies that I'm going to be fishing deep, but I'm going to be fishing them for Spanish mackerel, or snapper, you know, things that live deep and come up burley trails. And I do like to add a little bit of gill flash in behind the eyes here. The material I'm using is this Parma chenille. It comes in all sorts of colours. This is a black purple, and I use this a lot in many, many flies. There's some gold here. You know, when you're trying to produce a body that has depth to it, and I'll tie it in along the body, and then I'll lay other body materials over the top of it. And when they're wet, it just shows through. Just gives the just a little bit more lifelike. Tie that in there. This is the end of a strand. I'll just pluck that out a bit. One of my homemade dubbing needles. Give that a little bit of a pluck out. So we're at that stage now. Then, so all white. I'm going to make this fly all white. Got some super bucktail here that I chose from off the shelf of a retailer. Good to go into a retailer who lets you scratch through the materials. Remove any of the smaller, shorter, finer hair in there. We don't need that. Just come in like so. Again, I'm one of those tyers who likes to leave the stubs on, because now I can use those stubs there to just straighten everything up before I trim them. This is why you want to leave plenty of room between the eye of the hook and the eyes. Get that in there. Wind that down. Again, come in behind the eye, over the eye. All this will be actually coated in UV cement. So there's the fly up to that point. I'll go with all white. At this stage you could add chartreuse or pink or whatever colour you liked. I do like all white. Again, similar amount of hair on the other side. Just a point with bucktail. Make sure you try and use the natural curve of the tail. You see that's got a natural curve to it. Now try and use the natural curve. Get rid of those excess short hairs. Alternative hair for this, my mate Craig Radford in WA hunts his own goats, and he goes out in the field and shoots the goats with the shiniest, whitest hair he can find. So soft wraps up here to stop it from flaring, much harder wraps down towards the eye of the hook. Trim the stubs. Beautiful. Okay. There we go. Now, I'll just whip finish this. Double whip finish. This is a Kevlar thread I'm using. It's very slippery. If you've got any excess hair sort of sticking into the eye of the hook and so on, just flame it with a cigarette lighter very briefly. Don't want to overdo it. Okay, so we've got to that stage now. That's a great looking fly as is, but I'm going to just add a couple of grizzly neck hackles. So I use the neck hackles for this from old dry fly capes, the ones from down the base, because they have a great curve to them, and I utilise that curve. Find a matching pair. There's one there. Okay. Now look for one curving the other way. There's one there. So this one will be on this side. Now this is a time where leaving the stubs on, this is what I'm referred to as the stub, this bit here, is a really useful thing to do. You can tie those in, not too hard, then you can just pull them in under the bindings. That will really lock them into place, stop them becoming a troublesome, messy feather. Bind that there. Again, whip finish. Double whip finish. At this point, so there's the fly mostly complete. Very happily fish with that. Now, at this point I'm going to apply some Solares Flex.